This podcast is brought to you by iPlayHockey.ca. iPlay is the leading hockey insurance provider to coaches, camp instructors, spring and summer hockey leagues, and tournaments across Canada. If you need insurance for hockey, iPlay has you covered. iPlay also provides hockey players and coaches with a wide range of free tools, drills, and skills in their drill vault to enhance on-ice performance, and they provide crucial off-ice knowledge as well. So if you need insurance for a hockey team, league, or camp, or if you just want to teach your kids some new drills, head on over to iPlayHockey.ca and check out their new website.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 273 of the Boys in the Booth podcast. Just Cody and Melbourne with you for this one. And Chad, we are hopping on, of course, to have some post-trade deadline reaction. There were a lot of big deals. Got to tell you, I mean, this isn't news to you, but Friday, March 6th, the actual deadline day itself was an absolute dud until the final hour. But we're going to get into that. First, I want to touch on the hockey game that we just saw before we jumped on here to record here on Sunday night, March 8th, between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Buffalo Sabres. 8-7, the win for the Buffalo Sabres over the Tampa Bay Lightning. Chad, Buffalo is now in first place in the Atlantic Division. Forget, if they make the playoffs, let's hope they make it. It's going to happen. They are going first in the Atlantic Division, man. 8-7, the win over the Tampa Bay Lightning. I just wanted to bring it up off the top. I
mean, I knew you were going to bring it up. I didn't watch the entire game. I watched the last 5 minutes because I was under the impression that we were hopping on as soon as the game finished. It's a little bit later than that, so that's why I tuned in. But I was also getting updates from the game by looking at Instagram, and The Athletic was all over it, giving live updates because of how crazy of a game it was. And also the kicker, you and I are playing each other in fantasy this week as well. And shocker, you're beating me in that now too. And I have Darren Radish. So I was paying close attention to the amount of points he was putting up. He had a good night in fantasy.
And I've got 3 or 4 Sabres. So.
Yes, but you want to know, Harper, what the kicker was, talking about fantasy and this game of the year, as some are calling it?
Yes.
I picked up Jonas Johansson as my goalie today, and he let in 8 goals. 8. All 8 of them. Against.
Well, you wouldn't have wanted Luukkonen either if you're in fantasy, but you definitely didn't want Jonas Johansson, former Sabre, by the way.
That's right, and also called the worst goalie in the league by reporters when he was in Colorado.
By John Vogel, I remember that. I knew you were going to bring that up. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
I forgot who it was, but yeah, John Vogel. Yes. That's crazy. But the comments under Johansson's profile were just brutal. I can't even read them on the podcast. I picked him up thinking, you know what? I'm down. He's the only goalie starting that I can get tonight. I have a streamer spot. It was a Hail Mary for me, thinking, what if he gets a win? It's like a 4-3 win or something. Not an 8-7 loss. That's not what I was expecting when they were up by 2 goals in the game at one point. So craziest game of the season, maybe some are calling it.
Yeah.
And when I watched the last 5 minutes, you mentioned off the top, first place in the Atlantic Division. How could I forget? It looked like they won the Stanley Cup when they won that game, man. Like, it was incredible. Like, the barn was just rocking, and the commentators are just going, and they did it. They're in first place in the Atlantic, and Luukkonen's doing this, throwing his arms up. It's like, are they in first place in the Atlantic, or did they win the Cup, Harp?
It makes me a little emotional, man, honestly, because don't just
because they've missed 14 years in a row.
Have this, okay? Like, man, I mean, been waiting for so long for this team to be in this position. Like, Chad, it is March and they're in first place in the Atlantic. They are about to end a 14-year playoff drought. They beat the Tampa Bay Lightning, and guys are sticking up for each other. There's fights, there's scrums. Dahlin's getting targeted all over the place. Guys are in there fighting for each other. I can't. They've won 7 games in a row, picking up right where they left off after the Olympic break, man. Like, I don't even care. I don't even care if I'm emotional, whatever. I love this team, and it's hard. It's hard not to get a little choked up, man, because I've just been waiting for this for so long, and it means a lot. It means a lot, and that was a hell of a hockey game in Buffalo tonight.
Okay, don't do this to me, because I need to still be able to make fun of you here. And I want to be happy for the Sabres, but I just...
Stop it.
I want to be happy for them. They missed the playoffs 14 years in a row. They've never picked a good player who stayed on their team longer than 5 seasons. Like, they deserve it, right? God. And the fan base deserves it. And I love Dahlin. He's my favorite defenseman in the league. You know I love Dahlin.
Yes.
But, man, like... cool it with the Instagrams. You're sending me Instagrams. Like, I can't do the direct messages talking about how good the Sabres are and about how putrid the Leafs are.
Well,
like, you're rubbing salt in the wound here. Okay, I just can't.
I will stop. Okay, that's fair. I will stop sending the Leaf stuff then. Is that a fair compromise?
Yes. You see where I'm coming from? Your team's good for the first time in your lifetime of being a sports fan. And you don't know how to act. You're just, and I get it to an extent. I get it.
I know. Okay. To be fair, I know. So I was talking with our good friend Corey Morrell about this the other day, and he's like, the next time I'm coming on, I am giving it to Chad and Casey. Are you kidding me? The Sabres are so good. Not a peep out of them this whole time. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to end the drought, blah, blah, blah. And I told him, I said, they come across like they're not happy for me, but they are. And I know I need to cool it a little bit with the messages and all that. But I'm so excited, man. And like, you can't blame me. Can you?
Yes. No, I can't. So, I can blame you for the extracurriculars, for all the messages beating up on the Leafs. I know they're bad. I said they should have retooled this thing or got a different GM or kept, Kyle Dubas. That was the big mistake. Like, I was all over this. Brad Treliving wasn't my guy from the start.
No.
But, and I said earlier I miss Sheldon Keefe this year. But so I can't blame you for being happy for your Sabres. Case and I are both happy for you, but I can cool it on the Instagrams. I
appreciate that. Okay, you got
it. and okay, all right. Now that we're totally off the rails and we're only 8 minutes in here, I might as well tell you what the plan was. Casey and I were talking between ourselves, because this has been going on. This has been a running joke for the past couple months. That,
oh my God,
you've been overexcited about the Sabres, right?
Yes.
And sending us both, stuff a lot. Every time the Sabres score a goal, you're lighting up the group chat, saying Tage Lemieux, or the Buffalo Sabres are like the the 75 Montreal Canadiens. But so Case and I had a plan for one of these episodes coming up. We were going to tell you that it was a topic, totally random. We were going to do a random topic, but then Case and I were going to host an intervention for you and teach you how to be a proper fan. But since that isn't happening now, I thought I'd spill the beans and tell you, because you don't know how to act.
How to be a proper fan? Are you kidding me? You know what? You're right. You guys are totally right. I don't know how to act. The Buffalo Sabres are good with a capital G. No shit. I don't know how to act, man.
It's like, what do I do with my hands? Sabres are in first place. What do I do with my hands?
Exactly. Ricky Bobby, I'm not sure what to do with my hands.
Exactly.
Dude, it is so true. Anyway, we are completely off the rails to start this thing, but I appreciate your patience with me. I really do, and I will take your constructive feedback into consideration. How's that sound?
Okay. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, on with the episode now.
BetterHelp is the paid partner of this video. The new year is a blank space for you to write a new story. BetterHelp makes it more convenient to get you started. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy more comfortable and convenient. They carefully make sure therapists on the platform are well qualified, and their customer support team is there to help you if you have any questions. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform you can trust. Your next chapter starts today. Get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp online therapy at betterhelp.com/boysinthebooth in paid partnership with BetterHelp. On with the episode. Okay, as we mentioned right off the top, episode 273. This is a recap of the NHL trade deadline because it has come and gone. Friday, March 6th, the Friday that just passed, was deadline day. 3 p.m. Eastern was the deadline for buyers and sellers to make their moves. And we've got quite a few deals to go through here. We're going to give some grades, thoughts on the trade, or trades rather, and kind of just go through them all. And then at the end, Chad, what I'd like to do is declare a winner and a loser from the deadline. So we'll do that. Okay. So let's get ready to rock here. And we'll start with the first one. This was earlier in the week. This was on March 4th. It was a deal between the Calgary Flames and the Utah Mammoth. And you can put this under the category of did not see this one coming. So Calgary deals Mackenzie Weegar, very good top pair defenseman with term left on his deal. They got him to waive to go to Utah, a team that looks like is poised to make the playoffs out of the Central Division, of course, in exchange for defenseman Olli Maatta, prospect forward Jonathan Castagna, and 3 second-round picks, all in this 2026 draft. Chad, your thoughts on this deal for both sides? Bill Armstrong with Utah and Craig Conroy with Calgary, the two GMs involved. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I know, for example, Casey didn't love this trade from Calgary's perspective because they didn't get a first-round pick. They didn't get a blue-chip, grade A prospect. But I wasn't quite as harsh. What they did get was they got off of Mackenzie Weegar's money forever, so I think that's important. Not that he made a ton, like we were talking about how he's on a good deal, but he is an aging defenseman, and you don't know how exactly graceful his aging will be going forward. So don't mind that, getting off that money. And he was going to go at the deadline. So, everybody knew that. And the 3 second-round picks, yeah, it's not a first, but you've got to think in terms of value. Like, you see teams do it all the time at the draft. If you have a late first-round pick, it's almost, probably 9 times out of 10 better to get 2 seconds anyways, because just in terms of simple value, like the drop-off between a player at 20th in terms of the ranking and 50th is really not that far. So, yeah, I feel like it's a value play here. They're trying to get as many kicks at the can at the 2026 draft as possible. So honestly, I don't mind it. If I had to give grades, I would still say that Utah did better in this one. I would give Utah an A because they got the best player in the deal, and didn't have to give up, one of their grade A prospects, TJ Ginla, the guy that everybody thought might be going the other way. And that was quickly ruled out as soon as the trade broke.
Yeah.
But for Calgary, I'll give them a B minus. I think it was okay. I think the value here is being a bit overblown in terms of what they got in return for Mackenzie Weegar.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good assessment. I'll give Utah an A, and I'll give Calgary a B. Kind of somewhere in the middle. I know they didn't get it first, and I definitely understood where Case was coming from, but this is a really strong draft. And when you look deeper into those second round selections, one of them is Utah's, one of them is Ottawa's, and we'll see where they finish. They're fighting for a playoff spot right now in the East. And one of them belongs to the New York Rangers, which will basically look like a late first rounder, really,
Mhm.
with where they are in the standings. Um, Also, have heard really good things about the prospect they got, Jonathan Castagna. Utah has a ton of prospects. I am with you. I am surprised that a T. Ginla or a Cole Baudouin or someone
Mm.
like that wasn't involved in the deal, but they still get a good prospect. And then Oli Mata, a guy that is just looking to play and can, fill a gap in the short term, and they can either move off of him or keep him as a veteran guy, whatever. So the more that I look at this deal and kind of break it down, I like it for the Calgary Flames, and I like it for the Utah Mammoth as well, because they get better now. They're looking to make the playoffs, obviously, an aggressive owner. And for Calgary, it just makes sense. More lottery tickets, and again, 3 seconds to go with what they already have and what looks like to be a really strong draft. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and a perfect example, by the way, in terms of, getting value for players between 20 and 50 in terms of draft ranking. Think about Easton Cowan, right? Like when he was picked late in the first round, and obviously this is just the first example that comes to mind because he's a Leaf. When he was picked late in the first round by the Maple Leafs, a lot of scouts checked their boards and said, we didn't have him until the 40s, the 50s. And he ends up going, forget exactly what he was, like 20 something. And but that just goes to show, like, those players are all sort of in the same range. Like, yeah, scouts might rank them a certain way, but teams know, like, if you're in a certain tier, like, it's very close from 20 to 50, really. So I don't mind the bet here getting 3 second round picks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, we'll move on to our next deal here, and this happened the same day earlier this week on March 4th, and just looking at the calendar here, that was on Wednesday, so a couple of days before Friday's deadline. The Edmonton Oilers acquiring Colton Dach and Jason Dickinson at 50% retained by Chicago from the Blackhawks in exchange for Andrew Mangiapane and a conditional 2027 first round pick. An interesting deal here for the Edmonton Oilers, especially. Your thoughts, Chad?
Well, the thing with this trade is that, like, the value to me is clearly off. Like, I don't know how there wasn't more there. I don't know how there was a first round pick included to get Dickinson and Dach when, I don't know, you'd think a first round pick would get you more of an impact player. I understand that they wanted to get off Mangiapane, and that was, sort of how the value shakes out there. But the interesting thing for me here is that we heard after this deal was made that, because, you think about other players who are available, like a Nick Waugh went for a first round pick. That's an impact center, I think you could say, who could play for Edmonton and be a difference maker. But we heard after the deal went down that Edmonton actually had Dickinson ahead of Waugh on guys they
Mm.
wanted and were willing to pay more. So yeah, weird one for me. Like, maybe I just don't know Dickinson as well as I thought I did, and maybe Edmonton sees something more in him. But yeah, I thought the value was totally out of whack here, and I think Chicago did really well.
This podcast is sponsored by SeatGeek, the absolute best ticket app out there. SeatGeek takes the confusion out of buying tickets, making it quick and easy to get the best deals to tickets at your favorite sporting event. SeatGeek does this awesome thing where they score each ticket out of 10 based on its value, so you know whether you're getting a good or a bad deal. Last time I got tickets to see the Devils play, I first saw red tickets. I waited it out, monitored the price in-app, and once I saw green, I pulled the trigger. SeatGeek makes it that easy. And here's the best part. SeatGeek has completely hooked us up. Boys in the Booth listeners get $20 off their first purchase on SeatGeek with the promo code BOYSINTHEBOOTH in all caps. Click the link in our description to download the app, and remember to get your discounted tickets using the code BOYSINTHEBOOTH in all caps. Get great seats for a fraction of the cost with SeatGeek.
Yeah, you know what? I get why you and others look at this deal and you're like, oh my God, like how did Edmonton part ways with a first round pick in this deal? But a couple of factors. Number one, you compare things a little bit. Nick Waugh went for a conditional first rounder.
Mm-hmm.
So you factor that in. Plus, you factor in the fact that Edmonton was looking to get rid of Mangiapane for a while now. He's got an extra year left on his deal at $3.6 million. That is not an easy cap hit to move without attaching an asset to it. So, yeah, a first seems like a lot, but they get Dickinson, who is a Nick Waugh type player. I like Dickinson. Very good, prototypical third line center, can kill penalties, is very good in his role. And I don't think the Colton Dach part of this should be underestimated or just thrown under the rug. I know that he is kind of looked at as a throw-in in this deal, but he's a very good young player. He's a big body. He is one of the leaders in hits this season among rookies and among all NHL hit leaders. He's got some bite to his game. And for Edmonton, I think they addressed a couple of needs that were really big for them that a guy like Mangiapane wasn't going to fill. And that's guys that are okay being in those bottom six roles. They need guys that are going to fill those roles for them come playoff time. So, yeah, does it look like a lot on the surface? Sure. But I feel like there's more than meets the eye here for the Edmonton Oilers with Dickinson and Dach. They give up a first. It's going to be a late first anyway next year, we expect, and they get off of a bad contract. You're going for it. I honestly don't mind it, and I don't think Dach should be looked at as a throw-in. Very similar to how we first looked at the Utah-Buffalo trade, J.J. Peterka for Josh Doan and Michael Kesselring, how we kind of looked at Doan as a throw-in at first. I'm not saying Colton Dach is ever going to be a 20-goal scorer, but I think that's an important piece as well coming back here for the Edmonton Oilers along with Dickinson.
I hear you. A couple things, though. I think, obviously it was very difficult for them to get rid of Mangiapane. No team wants to help out the Oilers fix their cap situation. So I understand that. But come on. Could you not do this in a separate deal? Like, why are we skewing value here in a trade involving a first-round pick and you're getting back your third-line center? Like, to me, like, it just didn't make sense. I feel like you should have done it. You know, like, could have San Jose used a Mangiapane? How much would it realistically cost you to get off that contract? Like, a third, maybe, you know? A second? Like, is that too much? Probably. Like, if you pay a third, what's the big deal? And my second thing about this deal, if you're Connor McDavid, are you not just looking around and going like, guys, I signed a 2-year team-friendly deal and all you could get me was Dickinson and Dach? Like, think about McKinnon.
And Connor Murphy as well, for that matter.
Okay, think about McKinnon, who now has Nick Waugh and he has Nazem Kadri. Like, it's just, I don't know. Like, if you're McDavid, are you not like, guys, like, why the hell did I sign a team-friendly deal if you're not going to provide me with anybody? Like, I understand that these players are maybe underrated. Maybe it's a West Coast bias thing. I haven't watched them enough, but I'm pretty certain I know what these players are. And I don't know. I feel like first is too much.
I mean, to your point there, I definitely think Colorado has the edge. Colorado had the better deadline. There's no question about that. But I would agree that Nick Waugh and Jason Dickinson are pretty much the same player. Like, that's
Mhm.
pretty equal.
Okay.
And, Colton Dach as well. Like, to me, Colton Dach could end up being like a Vasily Podkolzin for the Oilers, which would
Yeah.
be terrific.
They
And
got lucky on him.
That's right. And they needed a right shot D in Connor Murphy. That's a good pickup as well. So Colorado has the edge, I think, but I don't think the Oilers made out as bad as people think.
Okay, let me grade
That's
the
just
trade,
my
and then we
opinion.
can move on to the Nick Waugh
Sure.
one.
Yeah.
I'll give the Oilers a C minus, and I will give the
Okay.
Blackhawks an A.
Okay. I will give the Blackhawks an A, and I'll give the Oilers a B minus.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Nick Waugh?
Nick Waugh. Let's go to that deal. So, Chad, your Toronto Maple Leafs, who clearly are sellers, 7 losses in a row. Sorry to say.
Don't start.
I know. You're like, Harper, we talked about this.
Enough.
I know. All right. I know. I promise. I'm done. So look, this is an excellent trade for Toronto and for Colorado, because obviously they're going all in this year, and every year they have McKinnon and Makar and etc. So Colorado gets Nicholas Waugh for a conditional 2027 first and a conditional 5th in 2026. Pardon me, the 2027 first rounder is top 10 protected, and the 2027 pick will be the lowest of Colorado's 3 fifth-round selections. So this is a nice deal that Brad Treliving made to try to recoup some assets. The biggest thing here is that he gets a conditional first-round pick for a very serviceable player in Nick Waugh from the Colorado Avalanche, and I'm sure you'll agree.
Yeah, and the pick might be 32nd overall because Colorado is an absolute wagon right now, especially after the deadline.
You could take that, you could package it with a couple of other picks, you could move up a few spots if you want to get a player you want,
Of course.
Like,
Of course. There's flexibility that comes with just having that asset in the first place. But I'll give Brad Treliving and the Maple Leafs an A+ for this one. I did not see a first-round pick for Nick Waugh coming down the pike at any point leading up to this trade deadline. I feel like it caught everybody by surprise. Nobody had this. No insider had this leading up to. So A+ for Brad. I wish all his other trades were this good, but alas, they were not. And for Colorado, they get a third line center with Term, who is pretty big. He doesn't play big, but he's a big body. He's got hands. He can make plays. I'll give them a B+ here. I think it was a pretty good deal both ways.
We interrupt this podcast to tell you about one of our favorite partners, Sign Up Expert. If you're a sports bettor, whether brand new, casual, or hardcore, listen very carefully because this ad is for you. Guys, line shopping for the best odds matters, and that's why any profitable sports bettor needs to be using multiple sports books to maximize their profits. Thankfully, there has never been a better time to get signed up, and we are here to connect you with the best promotions industry-wide. When you use our link at signupexpert.com/boysinthebooth, you can get access to all of the top sportsbooks in your region, along with a review of each platform and its unique benefits. Most importantly, all of these sportsbooks have valuable sign-up offers for new users. And when you register through our link, you will automatically receive the top offer at each one, allowing you to start line shopping with an enhanced bankroll. Guys, it's simple. When you use multiple sportsbooks, you ensure that you can always access the best available odds, which is key to successful and profitable sports betting. So, if you want to take advantage of these incredible benefits and support our brand at the same time, please consider signing up for your next sportsbook through our link in the description below, signupexpert.com/boysinthebooth. If you're planning on signing up for a new sportsbook anyways, you might as well use our link and support the boys. So, one more time, That's signupexpert.com/boysinthebooth.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. The fact that Toronto needed to get, as we talked about, they needed to get 2 to 3 first rounders at this deadline. They failed to do that, but hey, they got one at least. So that is a good thing. So I will give Toronto, I'll give them a B here for this, and I'll give Colorado a B plus as well.
Only
I'm
a
with
B.
you there.
Getting a first round pick for Nick Waugh? Do you think he's worth more than that?
Oh, okay. You know what? I'll give Toronto an A. I'll give Toronto an A for that.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to change. I don't want to dictate
No,
your opinion here.
No. You're right. For whatever reason, I was off a little bit there, but no, I will give Toronto an A. Getting a first there was huge. That was very unexpected.
Okay. Let's talk about the Sabres deal with the Jets.
Yeah, so this was interesting, and I know this was a bit of a head scratcher for you. So this went down in the early morning hours of Friday. So Buffalo acquiring Luke Schenn and Logan Stanley, a pair of defensemen from Winnipeg, for Jacob Bryson, Isak Rosen, a 2027 second, and a fourth in 26. Chad, I know this was a bit of a head scratcher for you. Why?
Huge overpay, in my opinion. Massive overpay. Like, you're getting Luke Schenn, who, listen, we've talked before, and we talked a couple of weeks ago that this guy is probably going to be worth a third round pick at the deadline because he's been traded for a third round pick multiple times before. Teams always need depth defensemen. He plays a tough game out front of the net. Like he's a good pro, whatever, right? But then they get Logan Stanley too. And listen, he's fine. He's big. He's on an incredible offensive tear this season.
Career year. Yeah.
Career year by a long shot, but it's a contract year, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
If they don't keep him, right, then it's a lot of assets to give up. So what I envision is them re-signing Logan Stanley for way too much money, and then he just anchors that third pair, and it prevents someone better from playing there moving forward. I think he's fine. I'm not as low on him as some of the people are in the analytics community. I think he's okay, and I think Luke Schenn is okay. I saw how good he played in Toronto in both stints, playing alongside Morgan Rielly, but I don't know, man, to give up Isaac Rosen and a second and Jacob Bryson and a fourth, like Isaac Rosen enough. Like he has incredible American League numbers, half a point per game in the NHL, young player, picked very high, still has a lot of upside. Like, I don't know, like maybe you can argue that Rosen is redundant. You have a lot of young, talented players who have excelled at the AHL level and haven't necessarily made a huge impact at the NHL level yet. But like, I'm just looking at some of his numbers here in the American League, and I'll put it on the screen here because they're pretty damn good.
I know.
Like, look at this, 50 points in 67 games, 55 points in 61 games. Last year, over a point per game, 43 in 37 for Rochester. Or rather, this is this season, mixed with playing in the NHL, 7 points in 16 games. So, like, you see here, picked 14th overall, like, he's producing everywhere he goes. And I don't know, it just seemed like a lot to give up for two bottom pair defensemen who I think they're going to overpay one of. So, yeah, I thought it was a massive overpay.
So what's your grade then? What are your grades for each side?
Before I get to grade, let me say this too. The Parayko thing, right?
Yeah.
I thought that deal was way better for Buffalo. Say what you will about Colton Parayko. My mindset completely shifted on him after the Four Nations face-off tournament. He wasn't great at the Olympics, mind you. He was just fine, I thought. He looked a little in over his head at times, but he is clearly still a premier defenseman. Like he would slot in to Buffalo's blue line and be an impact guy anytime he's on the ice. And I think that's more than you can say about either guy they got, Luke Schenn or Logan Stanley. I don't think those are impact guys. I think those are guys who, for the most part, you feel kind of safe when they're out there, but they're not making a difference in a game. I'm sorry, they're not. They're not that good. They're not as good as a guy like Parayko, who genuinely can make a difference in every game he plays. So I thought that deal would have been great for the Sabres. I thought the value was there. I probably would have been sitting here giving them an A+ for that one. I wanted Parayko, and the price tag wasn't that high. I think any team would want Parayko, but unfortunately he didn't waive to go to Buffalo. And have you heard the song that's trending on the charts, Too Pretty for Buffalo? Maybe that's how Colton Parayko felt. He just didn't want to live in Buffalo, despite the fact that the team is pretty damn good this year, I must say. But yeah, so I would have been giving a higher grade. For this grade with the Jets, Harp, I will give the Sabres a C+. And I will give the Jets, for getting Isaac Rosen, that's really going to help with their sort of retool situation here, I will give them an A.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, no, the Parayko thing obviously didn't happen. I mean, to me, I don't really understand why he wouldn't waive. Like, why?
No palm trees, buddy. No palm trees.
Oh my God. Here we go. Why wouldn't you want to get out of a losing situation? But I get it. He did win a Stanley Cup there. He probably wants to, help kind of, finish the season and help out the young guys. I don't know. That would have been huge. But what I like about Jarmo Kekalainen here in his first deadline with the Sabres is that I think he's the kind of guy that doesn't dwell on things like that. He's like, all right, we're going to pivot. We're going to pivot and we're going to go find another deal. Logan Stanley and Luke Schenn, I think, really, really good depth additions, and they're depth adds. There's no question about it for the Sabres. We knew that there was going to be a high price for Logan Stanley in particular because he's at a good age. He is 6'7". He's having a career year, and we've talked about this before. Like, this guy is going to get paid this offseason. It's going to surprise us all. It's going to surprise all of us when he gets, $4 million, and that's his AAV or whatever. And then Luke Schenn, just a good veteran guy who's won a couple of Stanley Cups, I think is really great for this group because this group is going to go into the playoffs, and the majority of the guys on that roster don't have playoff experience. A lot of them don't know what it takes to win in the postseason and to win a Stanley Cup. So I think that's good. In terms of the acquisition cost, look, Jacob Bryson is a 7th defenseman, a second rounder in 2027. I mean, a late first round pick, even a guy who's picked at that point is likely to be at best like a low top 6, like potential, like more like a third liner. So I don't mind that. The 4th, whatever. And then Isak Rosen, I get it. Still a young player, has produced very well at the American Hockey League level in Rochester, as we saw with the numbers. But the thing is, Buffalo has so many guys. Like, they were able to include him in this deal out of necessity. They have guys ahead of him. Isak Rosen wasn't going to be a full-time Buffalo Sabre. There's no room for him. And he needed a fresh start. Guys like Ostlund and Helenus and guys like that are ahead of him, and he needed a change. So, to me, I don't look at him as a first round pick. He's been around for a bit. Again, very good production at the AHL level, but Chad, that hasn't necessarily translated to the NHL level yet. Now we'll see in Winnipeg.
I mean, he's half a point a game in this season. Like, I mean, that's not nothing. I don't know how many minutes he's playing, but
again, this was a move that Buffalo had to make, and I feel like Rosen gets thrown into this deal out of necessity. They've got a lot of guys in front of him on the depth chart, and this is what happens. I love it for Winnipeg because I love that, it's a good bet for them. But this is also a great deal for the Buffalo Sabres because they're in a spot that they haven't been for a long time. And, it's two guys who I think can help them depth wise and leadership and experience wise as well. And we all know this. If you are going to be a playoff team and make some noise in the postseason, you got to have a deep blue line. You've got to be like 8 guys deep, and you need guys with length and size. So I don't mind this at all. I will give the Winnipeg Jets a B plus here, and I'll give Buffalo a B.
Okay, I'm sort of understanding where you're coming from. I guess if they have a surplus of this player, like I do get it. Maybe I'm just thinking about it with my Leafs brain, where there's just such an absence of real like good prospects. Like it's such a hot commodity in Toronto, so it's just. But yeah, and what I will say too is that they did have to pivot after they made or after Parayko didn't waive his no trade clause, because if you look at the other defensemen who were traded later that day, like there aren't many very good players, like there's John Carlson, but I don't think that would have been a fit in Buffalo. And then, like there's a Tim Liljegren, there's, a Justin Falk, and I just don't think any of those players really move the needle either. So I get it. Like you needed depth. I just thought the acquisition cost was a little too high for what they got. And I think they're going to overpay Logan Stanley. I think that guy's going to get like $5 million.
Well, if they decide to keep him around, and for me, that is the one guy you make a decision on, because Luke Schenn is purely just there as a rental. He's a veteran guy, great guy, love him. He's got experience. Anyway, but I'm glad that the last thing I'll say here, and then we'll move on. I'm glad that Jarmo Kekalainen didn't sit on his hands, that he was like, all right, unfortunately, that didn't work out with Parayko. That would have been great. Chad, I would have been over the moon if that deal went through. Absolutely. But I'm glad that he didn't just stand pat. It's like, no, we have a need here that we still need to address. And even though we lost out, we got to pivot. We got to make a deal. And they did. So I like that. But I get where you're coming from in terms of the acquisition cost, because when you look at it, you look at where Isak Rosen was drafted. Okay. First rounder, then a second, then a depth defenseman, then a fourth for 2 guys who are likely going to be on your third pair.
Yes.
I understand, but you also understand where I'm coming from.
Yes.
On this.
Yes.
Okay.
We got to move on. John Carlson deal.
We got to move on. Absolutely. Chad, this was the biggest shocker to me. Posted a late night video about this trade on the Boys in Booth Instagram, as you saw. This deal went on late, like early morning hours, around 1:22 a.m. exactly on Friday morning. John Carlson, after 17 seasons with the Washington Capitals and a Stanley Cup with that franchise, to the Anaheim Ducks for a conditional first-round pick in this year's draft and a third-rounder in 2027. Chad, I was absolutely blown away by this deal.
Yeah, me too. And like I've got the numbers up on the screen now. You can see with the Capitals, John Carlson has just been their best defenseman for like 15 seasons.
Model of consistency, man.
Yes. And he's been a fantasy horse too, even at the ripe age of 36. So yeah, it kind of blew me away. In terms of grades for this trade, like, I don't know, like I struggle with it a bit, because for Anaheim, like, of course they get the player, but I just don't know if Anaheim is in a position that John Carlson makes a ton of sense for in terms of their window right now. Because like, I think Anaheim's good, but I don't think they're ready to actually compete yet. with that being said, the Pacific Division is horrendous. So like, sure, they could have a chance this year if they continue playing well and get into the playoffs. But I don't know. I don't know if John Carlson was what they needed. But that being said, like, might as well take a swing, right? Reward your guys for playing well and try to take a next step while you have the opportunity in a weak Pacific Division. So why not? I don't mind it. And in terms of the price, like, yeah, pretty much par for the course. Like, you get a top defenseman, you're going to have to give up a first. That's normal. And then throw in a third as well to add to the value. Sure. Like, I think it makes sense for Anaheim. For Washington, I guess, like, they just wanted to pivot. They want to keep getting younger, right? Like, they want to eventually fully retool this thing, and it hasn't been a great season for them. So I also don't mind them trying to recoup a bit of value. I'll give Anaheim a B plus on this one, and I'll give Washington a B minus. I think Wash loses the trade because they lose the player, but given all the factors involved here, John Carlson's age, where Washington was in the standings, and where Anaheim is right now in their sort of window, I think it's an okay trade for both sides. But it definitely did blow me out of the water. I could not believe it. And when I texted our chat, I couldn't believe you were up either.
Yeah, no, I was up and couldn't believe it. You know, I was talking to Emerson, my brother, of course, who's a Capitals fan, and he talked about the possibility. He's like, "Oh, I just wonder if Carlson maybe goes somewhere," but didn't expect it to happen. And the thing is, Washington could always bring him back in the summer. Like,
Yeah,
to me, it's kind of like a Brad Marchand sort of situation. Ultimately, he didn't go back to
didn't
Boston,
happen.
but
Yeah.
I feel like there's a chance that Carlson could go back to the Capitals in the summer. Regardless, his number 74 is getting retired in Washington.
Oh, yeah.
No question about
100%.
it. Like, he's got every record for a Capitals defenseman in franchise history, pretty much. Like, it's unbelievable. And you know, you saw how devastated guys like Ovi and Wilson were that this happened, and I don't blame them. However, I'm inclined to give the same grade for each team in this deal, a B plus, I would say. Anaheim gets Carlson. I think it's a terrific add to the right side. That right side all of a sudden looks pretty good. It's a veteran right side of their blue line, but dude, Carlson, Gudis, and Truba,
Yeah.
that's pretty damn good. And like, I can't think of a better guy to be next to Jackson Lacombe, your number one defenseman. And dude, Anaheim could win the Pacific as well.
I know.
Legit. Like, and I think for Pat Verbeek, this was a big year for him going in. He hires Joel Quenneville. Ownership was telling him, like, look, like, it's like playoffs or bust, basically. Like, there were questions about his job security coming into this season. So I give him a lot of credit for pulling off a big swing like this that none of us saw coming. And for Washington, I give them a lot of credit as well, because this is not an easy deal to make. They get a first, they get a third. And what do we know about Washington? They are terrific at drafting and developing young players. And so I think Chris Patrick and company looked at this like, you know what? We need these assets for the post OV era as we continue this retool. And they are already loaded with prospects. They are going to have more coming. Ross Mahoney and his staff, they're terrific. And this is just more ammo for them. And they also have a chance to bring Carlson back in the summer, potentially, for a chance for him to ride off into the sunset with the Capitals. I think it's a win-win for both sides. So I think it's fair to give both teams here a B plus in this trade.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hesitant to say anything about him re-signing in Washington or signing again in Washington, just because it never happens. Like, we talk about it every deadline when a player or a team trades a player that's been there a long time and, oh yeah, just wait, he's going to re-sign in the offseason. He never does. They never come back. They get talked into staying wherever they are. Like John Carlson's going to see the palm trees and the beach, and he's going to be like, you know what? I could retire here. This team's on the up and up. Like they're first in the Pacific, like he's going to get talked into it. So I don't know. I'm just hesitant to talk about him going back to Washington with any certainty. But also too, like, this just bugs me so much. Like I look at the standings, the absolutely putrid Maple Leafs, who have lost 7 straight games and are at the bottom of the Atlantic and second last in the Eastern Conference, would be 2 points out of the playoffs in the West right now. So it's just a joke. Like they gotta, I don't know how to change this, but the East is just so much better than the West right now. Like it's a joke.
It really is. I know. Oh, I know, man. All right. Our next
we got to fly here. We got to get going.
Yes, that's right. Okay. Moving on here. Friday, around 2:19 p.m. Eastern, the New York Islanders with a big swing here, acquiring Brayden Schenn from the St. Louis Blues for Jonathan Drouin, prospect Marcus Gidloff, a conditional 2026 first, and a third in this year's draft as well. Great swing here from the Islanders, I think, Chad, and a terrific story. The Blues and the Islanders were staying in the same hotel.
Yes.
So Matthew Darche and Patrick Waugh were able to meet with Brayden Schenn face to face, and that helped get this deal over the finish line. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's awesome. I heard that too and thought that was cool. Brayden Schenn only had to walk, or take an elevator down a couple floors to join his new team. So that's pretty neat. But yeah, I mean, for the Islanders, like I saw some Islanders fans not too happy about this. I think Brayden Schenn is a bit overrated, especially at that price point. He's still a good player though. So, and it's a good add to your team. All you have to give up is some picks and Drouin. Like it's not that big of a deal. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think if I had to give grades, I'd give the Islanders a B-, and I'd give the Blues probably an A-. Like the Blues just always get their price, man. Like it's Doug Armstrong. He just sets his price and he gets it and more every time. So you just have to give him an A- grade. Like I thought it was really good for Brayden Schenn. Like, I think he's a fine player. I think analytics people don't love him, but he's a veteran who's been there, done that. He's, he'll be able to chip in at least somewhat offensively. He can play in big moments. He can play both ends of the ice. Like he helps you. If you're an Islanders fan, like, yeah, you might think he's a bit overrated. You might think you overpaid a bit, but you're still getting a pretty good player. So you have to be happy.
No, totally. The Islanders have been a really nice surprise this year. Again, they have a shot at winning the Metro potentially. They're not far behind Carolina. So, and also, as Elliot Friedman said, this is part of the Matthew Schaefer effect. Mm-hmm. Getting a guy like Brayden Schenn to wave and to come to the New York Islanders, and I think he was ready for a change. Like we know last year that the Leafs were in talks to pick up Brayden Schenn. We know that the acquisition cost was through the roof. Well, St. Louis kind of got that here. Like, this is quite a bit for that player, but good for them. And I'm bang on with your grades as well. What did you give the Blues? An A? A-?
A-. Yeah, I'll settle with an A-.
And then a B- with the Islanders. Yeah, I'd agree with that. So,
that was the acquisition cost that Brad Treliving did not pay at last year's deadline. And I'm thankful he didn't, because I think, like I said, Brayden Schenn's okay, but I mean, that would have been a Carlo trade 2.0 in my opinion. So,
well, Treliving did do that. Then the Leafs would be without first round picks for the next 3 freaking years. So glad he didn't do it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, and potentially without a Easton Cowan or a Ben Danford.
Oh
or whatever.
Yes,
I know.
Oh,
all right,
yes,
we're gonna get to another Leafs deal here in a second, but first, the Detroit Red Wings. Quiet day for them until right at the very end. This deal came in just after the 3 p.m. Eastern deadline. 4 minutes later on Friday, March 6th, the Red Wings picking up Justin Falk, defenseman from the St. Louis Blues, who we're talking about again here, for Justin Hall, former Leaf, Dmitry Buchelnikov, a 2026 first and a third in this year's draft as well. So, like you said, man, the Blues doing pretty good here in this deal as well.
Yeah, Doug Armstrong sets his price and he gets it and more every time. That
Rinse, repeat, move on. Yeah,
exactly. All night and day. Like
yes.
this is a great trade for the St. Louis Blues. I'll give them another A for this one. For Detroit, I mean, I think Justin Falk's a good player. I think he brings some offense from the back end, which is helpful. However, I did see on Money Puck that the Detroit Red Wings odds of winning in the first round actually dropped after this trade, because Money Puck and some other analytic sites out there think that Justin Falk's impact on defense is that bad. So I don't know if that's something to read into, but yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. I think Justin Falk was going to get a haul. I didn't foresee this big of a haul. So I'll give the Blues an A. Like I said, I'll give Detroit a B minus or a C plus actually.
Yeah, B minus for me for Detroit, and then an A for the St. Louis Blues. They got two types of hauls. They got Justin Hall, and they got a haul overall in this trade. I think if I was Steve Yzerman and the Red Wings, I would have preferred someone with more size, to be honest with you. Falk is a fine defenseman. He can put up numbers, but he's not that big. Like, I think he's only 6 feet. I know Yzerman looked into OEL as well, who was obviously out there by Toronto. But, I mean, this is fine. And, you know, who had to be happy with this deal is Dylan Larkin of the Red Wings, your captain, who kind of called out the Red Wings GM, Steve Yzerman, last year for not doing all that much, basically squat at the deadline, even though they were in a playoff chase. So I think for that reason alone, I think this is good, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Okay. Bobby McMahon.
Bobby McMahon going to the Seattle Kraken. McMahon having a good year. 19 goals on the season, I believe, Chad.
Don't care. He's not a Leaf anymore.
Going to, he was a 20-goal scorer last year and having a career season this year, obviously looking for a contract this summer. He goes to Seattle for a 2027 second and a fourth in 2026. Chad, did Toronto get enough here for Bobby McMahon, the pending UFA?
No, they did not. And that specific question was asked to Brad Treliving by Nick Kypreos on Real Kipper and Born, and he was also asking about whether or not there was a plan and could you get more for the players that you sold. And Brad Treliving calmly said, I say calmly, he sounded calm, but it's clear that there are some demons inside his head and he's greatly overwhelmed by the whole situation. It's very clear that there's no plan going forward, but he said that that is what the market dictated. And I just want to say, Brad, no, it's not, because Michael McCarron fetched a second round pick mere days earlier, and Bobby McMahon is twice the player that McCarron is. Sorry, McCarron, nothing personal there. And also Kiefer Sherwood, who has eerily similar production to Bobby McMahon, fetched 2 seconds a couple weeks ago, going to San Jose, and just signed a new ticket for, I believe, $575 is the AAV.
Times 575 for 5 years. That's right. Which is probably what McMahon is looking at this summer.
I could see a 5x5 for McMahon. I think. Yes. I think he's. I mean, he's in that ballpark at least, right? Like those are comparable players. So I mean, the talk was a first round pick. A first round pick. That's what the market should have returned for a player like Bobby McMahon. Yeah. Or 2 seconds, which I mentioned off the top in talking about the Mackenzie Weegar trade. is sometimes even better, you know, compared to a late first. So yeah, I praised Brad for the Nick Waugh deal, but this one was just pathetic in terms of the return. So I'm going to give it a D plus, and I will give Seattle an A because they get a 20 goal scorer who's lightning quick at the height of his value for a playoff push here, or a playoff round rather, because I think they're comfortably in. So
I will give Seattle a B plus, and I'll give Toronto a C minus for this one. I think it's good that they at least got something for Bobby McMahon, but I was expecting either for me, Chad, it was one of two things. Number one, it was either going to be a first round pick. Fantastic. Or it was the Kiefer Sherwood deal, which is what it should have been. 2 seconds, maybe a minor leaguer thrown in there, and McMahon goes elsewhere. In this case, he went to Seattle. That obviously did not happen. So, again, they got something for him. Great. At least they got 1 second. And so yeah, I will say B plus for Seattle and a C minus for Toronto.
Okay, another Leaf, Scott Laughton, almost done here.
Yeah. Okay. What do we got? 2 deals left here, Chatters?
2 left.
Yeah. Okay, 2 left. All right. Oh my God. Okay. Toronto trades Scott Laughton. Again, this was another late deal that came in after the 3 p.m. Eastern deadline on Friday. Toronto sends Scott Laughton to the Los Angeles Kings, who, by the way, scored for LA over the weekend, in exchange for a conditional 3rd-round pick in 2026. Now, keep in mind, Chad, I know I don't need to bring this up, but I'm going to bring it up. What did Scott Laughton get acquired for at last year's deadline from the Toronto Maple Leafs? What was it again? I think it was
first round pick and Nikita Grabenkin.
Yeah.
That's right.
Checks notes the return here is a conditional 3rd this year that could become a 2nd, and my God, do we hope that it does. If LA makes the playoffs, that will become a 2nd rounder. This is tough for me. Like, I'm just going to come out and say it, Chad. This is an F for the Toronto Maple Leafs on this deal.
Yes.
100 times out of 100.
Yes. It's an F for fire everybody in the front office. Like, what are we doing here?
F for... No.
It's an F for fire drill. What are we doing? Like, fire everybody in the front office here.
Steve Dangle said the same thing.
Did he?
Yes. Oh yeah. No, like he was like, this is a disaster class, I think is what he said.
I thought you meant F for fire everybody. I thought I was being creative with that one.
Verbatim. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, a 3rd-round pick that turns into a 2nd if the LA Kings,
and my God, do we hope it does.
LA Kings, who are banged up and, on the outside looking in, 3 points out of the playoffs. Don't even know if
we'll make it. Like, if they'll make it. Sorry. Like, oh my God.
At that price, keep them. Re-sign them. And
100%.
And here's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
Play him. Play him more than 10 minutes a night. The guy has played 8 minutes a night for 30 straight games. Like,
playing on the 4th line. You gave up a first and a good prospect for a 4th line center. I don't understand. So, Chad, like,
he's better than that. Like, he's probably the Leafs. He was the Leafs, like, 6th best forward, 7th best forward, maybe.
I think his personality, his character, all of it is perfect for this retool, if you will, that the Leafs are going to go into. I think he's perfect for that. Look at the way Easton Cowan spoke about him as well.
He said, I wouldn't be the man I am today without him.
I know. So here's what I'm hoping. Best case scenario, LA doesn't make the playoffs. LA does make the playoffs. The Leafs get the 2nd, and they re-sign Laughton in the summer. please. Like, my God. Or else this is an organizational failure among others. Like, my God.
It's a
I'm
fireable.
sorry.
It's a fireable offense, and I'm not going
Yes,
to
it
hold my
is.
breath for them. I'm not going to hold my breath for them to re-sign Scott Laughton in the offseason. Like, it never happens. It literally almost never happens. So I'm not going to hold my breath for it. That's what all the optimists in Toronto are saying. Okay, well, what if he resigns? But I can't look at it that way. It's an F. It's an F for failure. It's an F for fire everybody in the front office.
It is an F. Yeah, it's an F for F off. It is an F. And for LA, B.
Sure. B plus.
B plus. There we go. He did score over the weekend for the Kings. So
he did.
There we go.
Okay, last deal.
One more deal to go here, and this was definitely the biggest deal on deadline day itself. So this came in a little over an hour after that 3 p.m. Eastern deadline, and this is really interesting because the day before we thought this deal was happening, there were all kinds of rumors and reports out there that Flames ownership apparently blocked it. Don't know if that's true. Elliot Friedman did mention that as well.
Yeah.
But here we go. Nazem Kadri back to the Colorado Avalanche, the team that he won a Stanley Cup with in 2022, along with a 2027 fourth from Calgary and to Colorado. And then the Flames getting winger Victor Olofsson, prospect Max Curran, a conditional first in 2028 and a conditional second in 2027. So the Flames, again, make another big deal here that clearly signals that they are full on in a rebuild, and Kadri goes back to the team that he won a Stanley Cup with. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that, it was reported that the deal was originally nixed by ownership in Calgary, and we didn't think it was going to happen. Moments later, it seemed like Colorado pivoted when they went out and got Nick Waugh from the Toronto Maple Leafs. And then, this comes in an hour after the deadline, which, by the way, can we figure this out? Like, can we just make deals? Like, it drives me nuts. Like, every year I say to myself, okay, like, it's going to be like, I got to watch my phone until 3:00. And then I'm reminded, oh yeah, like the NHL just doesn't care. And it's like an hour and a half later, this gets reported. 4:15 is when the last deal was reported. And that was Brennan Hoffman from the Rangers going to Calgary. So I don't know, that annoys me. But yeah, so it seems like after Colorado got Nick Waugh, they just said, you know what, like, we can probably do this too. Let's just pony up whatever Calgary was asking for. Let's improve, maybe it was a 3rd round pick that they improved to a 2nd round pick in 2027. I don't know what it was, but clearly Colorado went back and were like, all right, let's just do it. We want the player. What's an extra pick? Like, they don't.
A player we know, a player who's won with us, Yeah.
And he fits right in like a glove. And now all of a sudden, down the middle, Colorado is the deepest team in the league with McKinnon and Brock Nelson and Nazem Kadri.
Had a heck of a season, by the way.
He's an Olympic gold medalist, and he was on the Four Nation team. So and then Nick Waugh is their 4C. So like, Colorado is set up. And if we're doing winners and losers talk, like, Colorado is the clear winner of the deadline for me.
Yeah, hard to disagree with that. And all of a sudden, they've got a lot of centers. Like, they've got some guys who are going to have to play on the wing who are centers. They've still got Ross Colton. They've still got Jack Drury. Like, they are very deep up front. And, this is so good for Nazem Kadri and the Colorado Avalanche. Again, this is a player, I'm sorry, Chad, the Toronto Maple Leafs never should have moved. And he goes to Colorado, he wins a Stanley Cup, and then to be able to go back, I mean, it's perfect. And for the Flames, I mean, kind of their MO, like, they get a similar package here, on top of the Utah deal for Weegar. although they get a first and, a prospect, a player they can play now, and Olofsson, and maybe flip later. So, but for Colorado, A+ all the way. And for Calgary, I'll say a B. I'll say a B.
Yeah,
and I think
I was going to say, in terms of winners and losers too, like this on the screen right now is one of the reasons why Calgary could potentially be the winners of this deadline too, because
100%.
Look at all those picks.
Yeah. Like
two firsts in 2026, 2027, and 2028, 4 seconds in 2026, 2 thirds in 2026, 2 seconds in 2027, 2 seconds in 2028, like absolutely loaded.
A lot of lottery tickets, man, and you need those if you're going to be in a rebuild. And I do think, I think Craig Conroy's doing a good job in terms of recouping assets. They're going to get a high pick this year. They've got a new building coming. I think good things are coming for Calgary. And also they do Kadri a solid here. And that meant a lot to him. That meant a lot to Weegar. And I think that's just good karma, man. And I think they're hoping that will come back. So to them. So that has to be mentioned as well, because that really sticks out to players and when organizations do that.
Yeah. Okay, definitely. Quick winners and losers. My winner is Colorado. Yeah. My loser for the second year in a row is the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Okay, quick winner and loser. Winner for me, yeah, I agree, it's Colorado. Loser for me, it's the Carolina Hurricanes. They did not do enough. Nick Delorier, that's it. In a year this year in the East, where especially if you're that hockey team, you have had trouble winning in the Eastern Conference Finals. You don't have to go through Florida this year. You look at the quotes from Rod Brindamore the other day, very disappointed that they didn't do more. I'm sure it wasn't for a lack of effort. I'm sure they were in on guys like Trocheck and Robert Thomas, and the list goes on. But kind of surprised that Carolina didn't do more. Nick Delorier for a 7th, like
one of the 5 tough guys left in the league who doesn't really contribute anywhere else.
No,
I don't know.
But
they thought they needed to get tougher, so they added Delorier, who can't really play. Doesn't make any sense.
I mean, he's a pair of fists. That's kind of it.
Yeah.
So they're my loser of the deadline, Carolina.
Another sneaky loser is Casey's Devils. New Jersey Devils.
Yes.
Really, they did nothing, and we thought they were going to move Dougie Hamilton. They didn't. So that could have been another defenseman who could have fetched a pretty good return. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. By the way, one last thing. What do you make of some of the talk about Matthew Knies? And apparently, if New Jersey was involved, maybe a Simone Nemitz would have gone the other way. What are your thoughts on that? To me, Knies is a guy you keep around.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's just such a unicorn. There's not many players like him in the league. No. His comparables, and I'm not saying he's as good as these players yet, but his comparables legit are Tom Wilson and Brady Tkachuk.
Tom Wilson's the first guy that comes to mind for me.
So, I mean, those guys are unicorns. They don't grow on trees. I don't think you trade Matt Knies. I think Knies, Matthews, and Nylander, if they are going to do a retool, all 3 of those guys need to be untouchable. But everybody else, I think you should listen on. I'm pissed they didn't trade OEL. This is the height of his value. You saw some of the prices out there. Michael McCarron got a 2nd-round pick. You could have got a first
That's
plus.
That's going to drive you nuts.
Oh, it's stupid. They could have got the equivalent, I think, of 2 first-round picks. OEL would have fetched more than Justin Falk, for example, to Detroit. So I don't know.
I think OEL has arguably been the Leafs' best player this season.
Yeah, Yeah,
Like,
which is crazy.
So I hear you. And there were definitely conversations like teams like Detroit and San Jose, whatever. Unfortunately, it didn't get done. That's got to be a summer thing, though, because like you said, and I agree with you 100%, I don't think his value will ever be higher than it is right now, given his age and all of it.
And that's what this ownership, or not, I shouldn't say ownership group, but it does sort of start with Keith Pelly, who's the new CEO. But that's what this management group doesn't understand, that what the value is at present day for a player will not be the same in a month, in a day, in a week, in a year.
Yeah.
Like OEL's value was at an all-time high at this deadline. His value, I think, will be less in the summertime because he'll be even older. He has nothing to play for the next 20 games. Like, no one cares if he's the best defenseman on the Leafs who missed the playoffs by 10 points. Like,
yeah,
he would have been great for a stretch run. I heard teams were already nervous about his age in the first place. So yeah, like, this is a career year for him, I would say, in the second career that he's had. Like, he sort of had two careers, right? Like, his number one career was like he was a number one guy, and he was, but in this sort of second career, after being bought out and going to Florida and then coming to Toronto, like, this was a great year for him, and his value is at an all-time high. With that being said, too, it goes the other way, and I'm looking at Leafs management for this too. Like, think about a guy like Dougie Hamilton. He was scratched for a game, and I talked about this at length in the group chat. He was scratched. He's been almost run out of town in New Jersey, and ultimately they didn't trade him. But I think 6 weeks ago, you could have got that player for like a third-round pick. You would have had to take on the money, but now, he's played 20 games since the scratch, and he's been pretty good, and they didn't move him. They clearly still like him. So, like, without pouncing and just sitting on your hands, like, you're not getting anything done, and you never will. And that's Brad's MO. He kicks tires, but he never pulls the trigger. It's insane to me. Another player too just came to mind is Pavel Mintyukov in Anaheim. That's a player who, just a few months ago, there were rumblings that he wanted out and he wasn't playing enough. And it's like, that's a young, talented defenseman that you can, like, you can trade for.
Reclamation project,
of course,
and you need those
when he's at an all-time low in value. And maybe I'm oversimplifying here, and maybe, if I were in Brad's position and making these calls and arguments, like, I'd be laughed off the phone. But it's like, I just don't believe that they're cutthroat enough or on the pulse enough to understand how values change so quickly. Like, you had to move OEL, and it's a failure that they didn't, because now he's older and he won't be as good next year, and you've got nothing to show for it except for a 36-year-old on your blue line. Like, it's brutal.
It's hard to disagree with any of that. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
All right, enough Leaf talk.
No, that's it. Final stretch of the regular season here in the NHL before the playoffs next month. I can't believe it. This season has flown by with this shortened schedule, with the Olympic break, all of it that we're now out of. It's crazy. Anyway, but love it. Love doing these shows every week, of course. Thanks so much for listening to episode 273, Boys in Booth Podcast, proud partner of iPlay Hockey. Thank you so much again, and we will be back next week. Take care.